Sometimes the best way to really understand our own world is to look through someone else's. And today, we're going to do just that by opening up a collection of human stories from author Mehmet Ali Güner, looking for little reflections of our own lives inside. Let's dive in.
The lonelier you become, the less polluted you are, and the freer you become. Just let that sink in for a minute. That's a quote from one of the stories we're about to explore. It's a really challenging idea, right? And honestly, it sets the stage perfectly for what we're about to get into.
Because that's the real magic of literature, isn't it? Every single life is just a collection of stories. And by opening this book of tales by the Turkish author Mehmet Ali Güner, what we're really doing is looking for a way to better understand our own lives, our own struggles, and our own hopes. We're looking for a mirror.
But before we can really understand the stories, we kind of have to understand the storyteller. An author's life, well, it's the lens through which they see the world. And Güner's lens, it was forged in some serious hardship.
So as you can see here, Güner's early life was anything but stable. We're talking forced migration, witnessing social chaos, and money troubles so bad he had to drop out of university more than once. But these aren't just bullet points on a timeline. No, these are the raw materials for his art. This is where all those powerful themes of displacement, struggle, and resilience that you see in his work really come from.
And with a background like that, it's probably no surprise that the first major theme we run into in his work is loneliness. But for Güner, it's not just a feeling. It's almost like a landscape. It's a place his characters live in, explore, and sometimes even choose for themselves. His characters are often like these little islands, totally isolated, even when they're smack in the middle of a crowd. So let's look at two really fascinating examples of this. Two women who are wrestling with being alone in completely different ways.
So we see two very different kinds of isolation here. On one hand, you've got the woman in Florence. Her loneliness is all about distance, about longing for her home in Turkey. It's geographic. But then, on the other hand, you have this woman in the city who basically builds her own isolation, turning her home into a fortress to escape a world she thinks is fake. One is lonely by circumstance, the other completely by choice.
The walls were getting closer, the ceiling was lowering, but his heart was expanding. It's this wild paradox, right? In Güner's stories, as the physical world seems to shrink around his characters, their inner world can actually get bigger. Solitude can feel like a prison, for sure, but it can also be this strange and powerful kind of freedom. And what often goes hand in hand with that kind of deep isolation? Memory. That's another huge theme for Güner, the inescapable weight of memory. For his characters, the past isn't something you just leave behind. It's more like a ghost that walks right alongside you, shaping every single step you take. Okay, get this. Take the main character from the story, Violet. His entire life is defined by one single traumatic memory, his father slapping him for going near a creek. Just one event, but it creates this lifelong fear of water and this deep feeling of being an outsider. But, as we're about to see, there's so much more going on with that memory than it first seems.
Let's really unpack this thing. It all starts with the shame he felt, because he couldn't swim like the other kids. Then comes the slap itself, a moment that just scars him. But here's the twist, the hidden truth that changes everything. He finds out his uncle drowned in that exact same creek, and suddenly it all clicks. His father's anger wasn't cruelty, it was this terrified, clumsy, desperate attempt to show love and protect him. His whole journey to reframe that one memory becomes this incredible journey toward healing.
The weight of memory can be absolutely crushing. We just saw that. But what happens when that anchor is just cut away? What if you have no past at all? Well, Güner explores that terrifying idea in another story. This is the absolutely tragic loop from The Man Who Forgot. Step 1, he wakes up totally confused. Step 2, he finds a note from his daughter explaining he has amnesia. Step 3 is just the gut punch. The shock and grief of learning about the whole life he's lost. But then comes the most horrifying part. Step 4, the reset. His memory is wiped clean, and the whole cycle just starts all over again. He is trapped, forced to relive the discovery of his own personal tragedy over and over forever.
So we've got loneliness and we've got memory. But underneath both of these powerful forces, there's this single unifying quest that's driving almost all of Güner's characters. And that quest is a search for peace.
This quote here, from the story A Woman, it just says it all, doesn't it? After all the chaos, the longing, the confusion, all he wanted was a little peace. This is really the emotional heart of the entire collection, this deep, universal human need.
But here's the thing. Peace isn't a one-size-fits-all deal, and his characters find it in so many different ways. For some, it's about quieting the mind. For others, it's about going back to a place of trauma to finally understand it. Peace can mean embracing freedom, pulling back from the world, finding a connection, or maybe simplest of all, just accepting yourself.
And this right here highlights the central conflict, doesn't it? On one side, Can finds his peace by refusing to be alone, literally telling Elif, "I'm just coming with you." He chooses connection. But then, this other woman finds her peace only by sealing herself off completely, believing that true freedom is found only in solitude. So which is it? Is peace found with others or within ourselves? Güner seems to be saying there's no single answer.
Okay, let's zoom out and pull this all together. What are these stories of loneliness and memory and this constant search for peace? What do they ultimately tell us? And this is what makes these stories so incredibly powerful. The characters, they aren't just distant figures in a book from Turkey. They're mirrors. Their feelings of isolation, their haunted pasts, their desperate search for some kind of quiet, these are things we all experience. They're universal.
This quote from Orphan Man, it just captures that universal struggle perfectly. We've all asked ourselves these questions, silently or out loud. Is anyone really seeing me? Does anyone actually hear me? Does anyone truly know who I am?
In the end, what Mehmet Ali Güner does is simply hold up a mirror. He shows us these beautiful, broken, searching human stories, and then he leaves us with one profound question to think about. These are his stories. What will yours say?